Hey, what's up? How's it going? I've been sick this past week. I know I said I had a lot of videos planned, and I did. I was going to do an Obsession spoiler review, a ranking of the top 10 horror movies of the decade so far, then boys coverage, and I got sick on Monday. I've been doing nothing but sitting over there on my couch watching TV. And playing video games, but that's besides the point. The Boys Season 5 came to an end, which means the entire Boys show has come to an end, and today I'm finally going to give you my review. Before I dive in, subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell, and comment down below what were your opinions on The Boys Season 5, and were you one of the people that was enjoying it, or were you one of the people that was highly disappointed? And with that said, I have a couple shorts talking about individual episodes, a couple full-length videos talking about a couple individual episodes. This is going to be a full season / finale review from me, and overall, this was a satisfying ending to The Boys. But it had a ton of issues. Overall, it's obviously, throughout the whole season, it's awesome seeing these characters again. You love the boys, you love Butcher, you love Huey, you love Mother's Milk, you love Frenchie, and you love Kimiko. So seeing the boys together is a lot of fun. And then even though you don't love them, it's also a lot of fun seeing Homelander, The Deep, Firecracker, Sister Sage, all the villains. It's so fun seeing these characters and being back in this world. So overall, I'm going to have a good time with it. Look at seasons, or look at a season like Season 4, which is personally one of my favorite seasons of the show, just because it was so much fun being with these characters and setting up this final season that a lot of people call it a nothing burger that I just don't understand. But for Season 5, I would have had enough fun anyways, just hanging out with these characters, and our character arcs were pretty great. Some character arcs that come to mind, obviously, Homelander, because he wants to be Jesus. Now, we all know, yep, we're doing this again. We only got one Jesus, and it's not this guy. Well, it is this guy, but it's not this guy, because this is just a little rubber thing. But there's only one Jesus. But, honestly, I kind of liked the plot about Homelander wanting to become Jesus. Not because he wants to become Jesus, but because I feel like it was a very, the right way to go for this character. Is it is it fleshed out perfectly? No. But it's Homelander. Obviously, he wants to rule the world, so what's he going to do? He's going to convince the world that he is the Lord and Savior, and if you don't believe, he's going to kill you. And as for Homelander, who's just a psychopath in and of itself, yeah, it's a very natural progression for that character. Butcher's character arc, he didn't really have one through the whole season. It was just, oi, 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 I want to kill the Homelander. But, his arc in the final episode, I thought was quite good. We'll talk about that here in a minute. Some other character arcs that really stood out for me. A big one was Firecracker. I loved that episode where we start to dive into her faith. And if her faith could fully, in God, because obviously she's a Christian, doesn't act like it, but she is, in this sort of messed up way. Obviously, she can't think Homelander's God and still worship God. So, seeing that moment of her faith, seeing it struggle in that one episode, especially with that old church that she used to attend, I honestly hated the character, but I found some humanity in that character, and ultimately, at the end of the episode, Homelander kills her, but still, I think it is a very good arc for that character in that episode. The Deep actually had a pretty good arc throughout this entire season because he's just a guy who doesn't want to take responsibility, and ultimately when he dies in the final episode of the season, a lot of people had issue with that. I did not, because I found that the way that his arc concluded with Annie Starlight giving him a reason to change, saying, hey, we will let you help us, and him refusing to take responsibility for his actions, it didn't change anything about the character because he just refused to. And I think that it worked for the best when he refused to take any responsibility for his actions, because that feels like, again, a natural thing the character could do. So throughout this entire season, you have these individual plot arcs that feel like it's what characters would do. Apparently, a lot of people aren't agreeing with me, but even in the end, where Homelander dies, and a lot of people are having a problem with him essentially begging, being like, dude, I'll do some things for you if you don't kill me. A lot of people like, oh, the mighty Homelander would never do that. Well, in the finale, he lost his powers. So, yeah, he's a guy that very clearly, we know, if he didn't have his powers, he would be nothing. So his powers get taken away. And it's not like he instantly gives up. He goes to fight Butcher, but Butcher just beats the crap out of him. And then it's like, oh, okay. Then he dies after begging. And a lot of people have the problem with begging. But no, because once he gets beat, once he knows he's beat, what is he? He's nothing. He's reduced to nothing. And again, that's a very good thing that the writers did for the show. And so in my personal opinion, the writers know these characters. They wrote them in a nice manner. Overall, about the finale, I actually really enjoyed it while not feeling like the finale. It was so weird to see Homelander get killed because Homelander's this guy. This guy that's super powerful, you fear throughout the season because you never know what he's going to do. And seeing him get killed, seeing what happens to him in the final episode, and essentially seeing his dead body, Homelander, the guy for the past 7 years, we watch his show and we're like, oh, that guy's crazy. Awesome stuff. And again, very much works. But what I mean when it didn't feel like a finale is that a lot of the season and a lot of the marketing was leading up to Scorched Earth. And this overall season was just not that. It was Homelander wanting to be Jesus, and then before he can, like, do his final thing where he's going to kill everybody who doesn't believe in him, then the boy steps in, and it doesn't feel like this big final season, because there were actually finales that did feel bigger than this one, essentially because this one was trapped in one room. It feels like a finale that's going to set up another season until you get the result. And it really, in the finale, wasn't until the result of Homelander getting killed that I was fully like, oh yeah, I actually enjoyed it. Because I found it incredibly satisfying watching Homelander die. And then what happens with Butcher? Where Ryan tells him he wants nothing to do with him. And then his dog, Terror, dies. Rest in peace. The real dog died. So rest in peace to that dog. But when Terror died, then he's like, you know what? I'm just going to go kill all the Supes. And at the first thought, I was like, wait, so his dog died, so then he's instantly going to kill all the Supes? This is kind of ridiculous. But after thinking about it, I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, he learns he has nothing left. And then his reasoning for it is there's always going to be another Homelander is very good reasoning. And having Huey kill him. Huey being the one who has to stop him. Very good character arc. Again, the writers understand these characters, in my opinion. So it's a satisfying conclusion to several arcs, seeing Huey and Annie get together. She's pregnant. He's going to be a dad. She's going to be a mom. Frenchie and Kimiko, heartbreaking when Frenchie died. But I do think what happened with Kimiko, I like her arc. Until the end. Like, I like her arc with Frenchie, but overall, like, it was a little bit jarring when we did the whole, oh, the virus is no longer going to work, so we're going to, like, we instantly have this backup plan, and the whole season's about the virus, but then we go to her getting Soldier Boy's powers. A little bit ridiculous, and doesn't quite work for me, but overall, her arc with Frenchie I thought really worked, and that leads to some really great emotional moments, because, especially in, I think, episode 6 it was, which is by far and away the best episode of the season, that line stuck with me, and it still sticks with me, and that's what summer is not beautiful if you know that winter's not coming, or something like that, or summer's only beautiful when you know that winter is coming. And that is a very, very emotional line, and again, a lot of people complain about the writing. I don't get it, because that was a very good line, and added some very good emotional weight to it. And then with the stuff with Frenchie, I thought really worked. So there's also some very good emotions that had me tearing up at some spots in the season. And then finally, still gross. Like, it still pushes it. It doesn't feel like it's forcing itself to be gross. It feels like it's natural. You get, like, crazy things. Episode 2, like, there's a rock jerking off, and then there's people sniffing each other's butts, and then you got all the gross blood, sex stuff. So it's still very gross and leads to some cool action, gnarly stuff. People getting split in half. It doesn't shy away from that. And that's part of the fun of watching The Boys, is just seeing all these gross, gnarly things. So overall, season 5, I liked. I found it to be satisfying enough. I had a smile on my face through most of the finale. And so I walked away from the season like, oh, yeah, I enjoyed it. It's good. I'm giving it a thumbs up. But overall, the season itself sometimes didn't feel like a final season, because just like it feels like it's setting up Vought Rising, which it is, the next show in the Boys universe. And a lot of people are having problems that it mocked the MCU, now it's becoming it. It's not. I don't have a problem with that, because that means I get to watch more of these characters, more Soldier Boy. Of course, I'm excited for that. But where episode 7, like the second to last episode of the entire show, was they break into Hollywood and try to get a guy that's not Homelander, and it's like, why are we doing this? And then the way episode 7 leaves off, it's like, the next episode, if it's not 2 hours long, how are they going to wrap it all up? And then the finale wrapped it up in a satisfying enough manner, but it still left several character arcs empty. Soldier Boy, what happened with him? Homelander just locked him away again? So, like, what's going to happen with him in the future? Sister Sage, she just went off to Disney World or Universal or whatever she went? Okay. And so, it's just like, the pacing of the episodes are so bizarre, because it feels like a lot of the episodes from season 4 and a lot of the episodes from season 5 could have merged together to be season 4 and then set up a much more powerful season 5. And so there were times I was watching it like, wait, this is the final season? Like, episode 6 was like, whoa, what are they going to do in these final 2 episodes? And then it was just, okay. Yeah, it wrapped it up in a very safe manner. It didn't push any boundaries like I was expecting the season to do from the start. It just ended up like, oh, yeah, I liked it. Yeah, I'm satisfied enough. But it didn't do anything super special, which is incredibly frustrating as someone who loves this show and wanted it to push boundaries. Instead, it just pretty much ended up on the same way that you knew it was going to end up. I mean, I'm pretty sure that all of us knew from the start Homelander was going to die, and then I expected personally Butcher to die. I didn't think there was a chance he was surviving. Those 2 things happened. They were emotional, they were powerful, but we knew it was happening. And so I don't feel like it pushed any boundaries. So a lot of pacing issues with the season itself. But overall, as a fan of The Boys, I enjoyed it enough. Unfortunately, season 5 is one of the weaker seasons for me. I know I spent a lot of time with the pros, but the big issue is it just didn't feel like a final season. It didn't feel as powerful as it should be, and that in of itself knocks it a step lower than some of the other seasons on this list. So overall, I enjoyed The Boys season 5. Before I give you my final score, if you would subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell. Comment down below, what are your opinions on The Boys Season 5? Are you someone who loved it? Someone who wasn't the biggest fan of it? And with that said, The Boys Season 5, it was cool seeing the characters again. It wrapped up nicely, in a safe way, but a satisfying way. But it didn't feel like a final season, and I feel like the show, for The Boys, should have pushed some boundaries. With that said, I am giving The Boys Season 5 a B. If you are a fan of the other seasons, yeah, I mean, it's a spoiler review, so like, what's the point of watching it now if you haven't already? If you already watched my review, spoilers in the title, man. But I would recommend a watch. That was my review of The Boys Season 5. Stay tuned for a ranking of The Boys seasons and then a ranking of The Boys Season 5 deaths. And then I'm going to wait for Backrooms to do that top 10 horror movies of the decade, because there's a chance Backrooms ends up on that list. And with that said, subscribe.